So, first of all, what I just want to say is how delightful it is to be here in your company this evening. It's been a long road. The last time we did this 2 years ago, it was all on that Zoom screen that we're all very used to. And having been in this seat now for 2 terms, to be able to do this in person and to see all of you and to hear from all of you is deeply moving to me. This is a people business, and so I'm grateful to each and every one of you. And I hereby accept your nomination to represent this district. Some references have been made to another fantastic woman also running to represent this district, Eva Bermudez Zimmerman, who's running for the 30th District Senate seat and was nominated as Thank you for being here tonight, Eva. It means a lot. So, having been in this seat now for 4 years, I can say that each one of those years has confirmed for me the reason, or one of the core reasons that I decided to run for state office in the first place, which is that we get stuff done. You didn't elect me to grandstand, to stamp my feet, to pound my fist into a table, and to make speeches all the time. I was elected to do the people's business, and I feel like, and I hope I have actually been able to do that. Particularly in the last year as a committee chair, all of the bills in my committee that made it to that final stage, except for one little bill that we'll deal with later, were passed in both House and Senate. Yeah. Because that doesn't happen all the time. And I'm really proud of that, and that it included some important pieces of legislation, including the creation of a hate crimes unit that will help state and local law enforcement both prosecute and investigate those crimes, and focusing additional mental health resources for law enforcement in particular. So a lot of that work is bipartisan, and I'm very proud of that. Also, as a legislature, we passed some really big, important bills this year. We passed big bills in the environment, for moving towards fighting climate change and reducing the use of toxic chemicals in particular, and of particular interest in our district, a bill that will require the Department of Environment and Energy and Environmental Protection to create a very thoughtful and specific policy on hazard tree mitigation. In the Houstonic Meadows State Park this year, that's done to make sure that never happens again. And so we'll be looking at that policy very seriously. We took aim at the mental health crisis, and we passed a couple of bills that provide really unbelievably substantial resources, particularly for our young people who are really getting the brunt of this crisis. We also passed a budget that funded a lot of the needs that were laid bare by the pandemic, and that included $600 million in tax cuts. That's pretty unheard of. And again, a lot of this work is bipartisan, including all the bills in public safety. But I also want to emphasize that not everything is bipartisan, and nor should we ever expect it to be. And that's because partisanship isn't always bad. Sometimes it's good. It shouldn't be divisive or snarky. It shouldn't be reflexive. This isn't, we're not playing for the Yankees. But sometimes our principles divide us so starkly from the other party that we should be shouting it from the hilltops and not wait for them to come along with us. And certainly, as several have mentioned already, this year one of those issues, which is front and center, is reproductive health care, which we're really moving backward on. So I have been fighting for choice, feels like all my adult life. I have marched and written about and protested in every state that I've lived in, studied in, or worked in over the course of my life. And in law school, I volunteered as a clinic escort in a local Planned Parenthood, seeing some of that battle up front. So this is important to me. What does choice mean? It means to me that if you are faced with an unplanned pregnancy, you ought to be able to access a support network that allows you to make an informed decision for yourself. And one of the really insidious things about Texas's law, SB 8, and there are plenty of other states that are teed up to pass similar legislation, is that it not only restricts access to safe legal abortion, but it strips away that support network at the very moment when somebody most needs it, by penalizing that doctor, that Uber driver, your roommate, who helped you in that moment. Now, Connecticut, in 1990, had the great foresight to codify Roe. And at the time, Roberta has already told me stories of people laughed at that. Oh, you don't need that, it's unnecessary. Thank goodness we did that, because that really has cemented the rights of Connecticut women to a safe legal abortion. Yesterday, I went to the signing ceremony for a piece of legislation, really a landmark piece of legislation that's already getting copied in states throughout the country, that both expanded access and also protected that support network from overreach by other states. Because these other states can now impose judgments against Connecticut residents if they help someone. This counteracts that, and it's getting a lot of credit. It's really important. And we passed that legislation in the House, HB, it's not a Senate bill, it's a House bill, 5414, just in the week before we all got the leaked Supreme Court opinion, draft opinion. And I want to note that that opinion not only shatters Roe, but it puts a whole lot of other constitutional rights that we rely upon and have gotten used to at risk. Same-sex marriage, same-sex intimacy, contraception, interracial marriage, those are all up for grabs now. The Supreme Court, that leaked opinion, tries to keep its hands clean by saying, well, we're just leaving it to the states. We are the states. Not just me, but all of you, every one of us in the room. And what that statement, that effort to sort of distance themselves from this radically regressive policy, is that every single seat, elected office, matters. Be it regional, be it local, be it statewide, be it in another state where someone you love or know and you can have influence over. They all matter. Every single one of them. It matters who sits in those seats, because we need people to stand up and take action on these issues. We are watching legislatures across the country that are gerrymandered into protecting single-party rule of parties that no longer can garner majority support for their electorate. And those anti-democratic legislatures are poised to pass legislation that's not supported even by the voters of their own state. Which brings us to another issue that is sadly also partisan, and that's voting rights. So states run elections. Connecticut is encumbered by a very constricted constitution, and so changing that and ensuring ballot access takes time, and it takes sustained, durable majorities. We get the same kind of proposals in the Connecticut legislature every year that you hear being passed in other states that restrict access to the ballot. But you don't hear about them in Connecticut because of those Democratic majorities. They don't get any airtime and they go nowhere. So just because you don't hear about them doesn't mean they aren't a threat to Connecticut every single day. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do in Connecticut, both historically and in the last 2 terms that I have served as your representative. I think I'm proud of the way that Connecticut as a state under Governor Lamont's leadership has managed the pandemic. Staying close to the science, making pragmatic decisions, and encouraging respect for everybody. That's the same way that all of our communities have responded to this. We have watched the sort of silver lining to this is that we are all, I think, more connected to each other than we ever have before. We know that our health is related to everyone else's health. And we have our first responders, our nonprofits, our local elected officials. They have all bounded together to make the best of a bad situation and be practical and get things done for the benefit of everyone. The district this year, there's a lot of work that remains to be done, obviously, and the things that I in particular look forward to fighting for are, continued access to rural health care. I think Gordon and others have mentioned Sharon Hospital in particular, ensuring that it continues to serve the residents of the district, and that primary health care and maternal health care remain available to everybody in our district. We also need to I'm going to continue to fight for access to high-speed internet. Roberta is familiar with that issue, as are many of you. That's also critical to our lifeblood. Costs have skyrocketed in the last months, and that's particularly true for housing in the northwest corner. And so I know a lot of you have worked to make that better here and to provide a range of more affordable housing options for everybody who wants to live here. And I look forward to helping bolster that effort and to put some state resources behind that. I also look forward to continuing to fight for the environment, which particularly in our area, sustains our farms, our businesses, our health, you name it. And that will continue to be a major focus of mine. A part of that is, of course, the waste management crisis that we're facing for those towns that use Mira, which are already causing our costs to skyrocket and is on an unsustainable environmental path. So that is also going to require state resources, and I'm committed, as I serve on both the Environment and Energy and Technology Committees, to fight and to resolve. So there's lots of work to be done, but I'm excited to get to do it, and I hope I get to keep doing it. As Roberta mentioned, the district is a little different this year, and I will no longer represent Torrington, which I had the privilege of representing in my first 2 terms. I'm glad I was able to do that. But I welcome wholeheartedly Washington to the 64th District and the other half of Goshen. So Goshen is reunited at last. And I know that was important to Goshen, and I'm really happy to bring that whole part of the town together. I do also, as I said, this is a people business, and the loss of Kathy Lyon, both as a delegate to this convention, but also just in our communities, is a deep one. She, Roberta mentioned a lot of the things that she did. She was a deeply caring person. She was a dedicated volunteer who, brought her whole heart and soul to working on the campaign, but not just on the campaign. She worked on so many issues that made our communities better and laid her heart there on the line every day. And so I know that I will carry a little piece of her with me every time I knock on a door or make a phone call or do anything, and I know a lot of you will do that too. So she will be missed. I am very proud to have been able to represent you for the last 2 terms, and I'm very, very honored to be nominated this evening, and I hope that I'm going to be able to continue to do it tonight. So thank you for your nomination. The work of the campaign that you know a couple of people. Melissa Roth-Chernisky, who is my campaign manager this year, many of you know already. And Cindy Barrett, who you heard from, who is our volunteer coordinator this year. And we're going to try to get the door knocking effort started, and particularly in the part of Goshen that we don't know yet, this coming weekend. And if you are available to sign up for that, please sign up there. But even if you're not available to that, if you just want to be available to work in the future, you can sign up over there as well. We hope to be out there in many places. So thank you all. And thanks for being here.